Suffering doesn't stem from what happens to you. It comes from how much you resist it. If you want to free yourself from the constant cycle of emotional pain, you first need to grasp a harsh but often ignored truth. Suffering isn't caused by life's events. It's caused by your refusal to accept them. Most people spend their entire lives unaware of this. They remain stuck in a loop of inner conflict, reliving the same emotional wounds again and again, without realizing that they are the ones keeping the suffering alive. Carl Jung, one of psychology's most influential figures, captured this perfectly in a single quote. "What you resist persists." This isn't just a catchy phrase, it's a deep psychological and spiritual truth that can completely shift the way you live. Take a moment to reflect. When something painful happens, like losing a job, going through a breakup, being betrayed, or facing a serious setback, your emotional reaction is understandable. You may feel sadness, anger, fear, disappointment, or confusion. These are all normal responses. But here's the key. The suffering you feel doesn't come from the event itself. It comes from your inner struggle against reality. It comes from the voice in your head that says, "This shouldn't be happening. This is unfair. I can't handle this." That inner resistance, refusing to accept what is, turns temporary pain into lasting agony. That's where suffering is born. Human beings are naturally wired to want control. We want life to unfold the way we imagined. We avoid discomfort whenever possible. We crave stability, predictability, and certainty. But life doesn't follow our rules. It moves according to its own rhythm. So when life doesn't go as planned, when the unexpected happens, our instinct is to push back. We deny, reject, or mentally protest. We think, "This isn't right. This shouldn't have happened to me." And that's the exact moment suffering takes hold. Take a breakup, for example. The pain of losing someone might last weeks or months, but the suffering that lasts for years, the grief that doesn't seem to go away, that comes from holding on, from clinging to what was, from mentally replaying the past and insisting it should have turned out differently. It's not the loss that's consuming you, it's your refusal to release it. This applies to all forms of emotional pain, betrayal, failure, rejection, or loss. It's not the event that crushes you, it's the ongoing resistance to accepting what's already happened. So how do you escape this cycle? The answer lies in a powerful spiritual principle: radical acceptance. Let's be clear. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up or pretending you're okay. It doesn't mean you're happy about what happened. It doesn't mean it didn't hurt. Acceptance simply means that you stop fighting reality. You stop draining your energy in a battle you cannot win. Instead, you take that energy and use it where it matters, on how you respond. And when you truly accept what's happened, deeply and completely, something shifts. The weight starts to lift. Not because the pain disappears overnight, but because you stop feeding it. You stop fueling it with your resistance. Imagine someone who's just been fired. If they hold on to anger, blame, and the belief that it was unfair, they might carry that wound for years, resenting the company, feeling powerless, and dragging that pain into every future job. But if they choose to accept what happened and ask, "What now? What can I do with this?" they take their power back. They stop reacting and start creating. The pain becomes fuel for growth. It's all about perception. Jung often spoke about the need to integrate every part of our experience, even the painful ones. Because when pain is accepted rather than resisted, it becomes wisdom. One of the biggest illusions we fall into is thinking our suffering is somehow special, that no one could possibly understand what we're going through, that our pain is deeper than anyone else's. But pain is a shared human experience. Everyone suffers. What separates those who grow from those who stay stuck isn't how much pain they face, it's how they relate to it. Those who resist pain suffer. Those who accept it evolve. If you truly want to heal, if you want freedom, the first step is to stop fighting life. Accept what happened. Accept what can't be changed. Accept reality as it is, and then focus your energy on what can change, your response. Here's the part no one talks about. The most shocking realization is that most of your suffering didn't come from the event. It came from how tightly you held on to it. A relationship ended, and years later, you're still heartbroken. But it wasn't just the breakup. It was your refusal to move on. Someone betrayed you, and you still can't forgive. But it's not just the betrayal, it's your grip on resentment. You missed an opportunity and feel stuck. But it's not the event itself. It's the way you keep replaying what could have been. When you stop resisting, when you truly let go, your suffering starts to lose its power. The pain doesn't vanish overnight, but it begins to shift. It becomes a teacher, not a lifelong burden. Now here's the deeper layer, one that most people never even consider. Your unconscious mind is what keeps you trapped in suffering. Because once you understand that suffering comes from resistance, the next question becomes, if I know this, why do I keep repeating the same painful patterns? This is where everything changes. Once you find the answer to that, you'll realize just how much power you truly have. So let's start with a difficult truth. Your unconscious mind is programmed to make you suffer repeatedly. If it ever feels like emotional pain just keeps showing up in your life as if suffering is some kind of curse, it's time to face a hard reality. You're not cursed. You're not just unlucky. You're stuck in a loop, and you're the one repeating it. Not on purpose. Not because you want to suffer, but because your subconscious mind is pulling you back into the same emotions and experiences again and again. Carl Jung said it clearly. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. What Jung meant is that your recurring pain isn't random. It's not life punishing you. It's not fate or bad luck. It's your internal programming, the beliefs and emotional patterns you absorbed early in life playing out on repeat. Your unconscious is like software that got installed in childhood. If you grew up around unstable love, emotional neglect, or constant fear, those patterns became your blueprint. You didn't choose them. They were imprinted. And now they shape how you live, love, and react. Here's what no one tells you. Your unconscious doesn't care about your happiness. It cares about what feels familiar. That's why even when you want something better, healthy love, emotional peace, stability, you keep attracting the same toxic situations. You're not cursed. You're conditioned. Have you noticed you often end up in relationships that hurt, that you sometimes sabotage your own success, that you fall into the same emotional traps over and over, even when you promise yourself you won't? That's not coincidence. It's a pattern, a familiar one. Why would anyone keep choosing what hurts them? Because in your childhood, pain might have come with love. Rejection may have followed connection. Safety might never have been guaranteed. So now, as an adult, your nervous system seeks out what it knows, not what's healthy. And in the twisted logic of the mind, familiar equals safe, even when it's painful. If you experienced abandonment or humiliation as a child, you may now avoid opportunities or relationships because part of you fears the pain will return. So you stay where it's safe, even if that means staying stuck. And here's the hardest truth. Until you become aware of these patterns, you'll keep repeating them for the rest of your life and calling it destiny. You'll wonder, why does this always happen to me? But it's not life. It's you following a script that was written long ago. So how do you break free? You can't change what you can't see. The first step to healing is recognizing the unconscious patterns guiding your life. Ask yourself some real, honest questions. What emotions keep showing up in my life? Rejection, fear, betrayal? What kinds of relationships or situations do I keep attracting? What beliefs do I hold about myself and the world? When you answer honestly, something shifts. You start to see that the suffering wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from within. You've been projecting your inner wounds onto the world. That's the turning point. Ending emotional pain doesn't mean you'll never feel hurt again. But it does mean you won't be ruled by hidden patterns anymore. Because once you bring the unconscious into awareness, you stop being controlled by it. You can't avoid all pain, but you can stop reliving it. You can stop unconsciously choosing it. From that moment on, you start making intentional choices. You stop reacting automatically, and in the next section, we'll go even further, exploring how the ego plays a central role in keeping you stuck in suffering. More importantly, we'll cover what you can do to weaken its grip before it keeps sabotaging your life, because once you understand how the ego operates, you'll begin to take your power back. Let's talk about the ego. The ego thrives on suffering. It keeps pain alive, and if you truly want to heal, you'll need to confront it. No matter how loudly you protest, no one else can save you. The only person capable of ending this cycle is you. So, how do you dismantle the ego and take back control of your life? The first and most vital step is understanding that you are not your ego. You are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not that inner voice telling you you're doomed to suffer. The ego thrives when you cling to pain. It survives on it, but the moment you stop feeding it, the ego begins to weaken. And in that space, something remarkable occurs. You begin to awaken. There are 3 powerful methods to loosen the ego's grip. Observe the inner voice. When the ego begins repeating your past wounds or whispering that life is unfair, pause. Don't react, just watch. Become a quiet observer of your own thoughts. Recognize that this voice is not you. It's a mental pattern, a loop playing. Repeatedly, the more you observe it without getting pulled in, the less power it holds. Stop fueling the narrative of suffering. Each time you repeat stories of how you were hurt or share your pain with anyone who'll listen, you strengthen the wound. Ask yourself, does this story empower me or keep me stuck? If it drains you, stop rehearsing it. Let it go. Respond differently. The ego wants you to react, to stay angry, to cling to resentment. But when you respond with calm, with detachment, with acceptance, you take away its power. You reclaim your own. Once you see the ego for what it is, its control begins to fade. You no longer need to hold on to pain. You no longer seek external validation. You stop identifying as a victim. And in that clarity, something becomes evident. The suffering never came solely from what happened. It came from the story built around it. Now we arrive at one of the most powerful truths in emotional healing. Pain doesn't fade by fighting. It begins to dissolve when approached in an entirely different way. This is rarely taught. We're conditioned early on to avoid pain at all costs. Don't cry. Be strong. Hide your weakness. So we repress it, deny it, run from it. But what you resist persists. The more you suppress emotional pain, the more influence it gains. Repressed pain doesn't vanish. It hides deep in your body, in your behaviors. It becomes anxiety. It becomes anger. It becomes numbness. The longer you avoid feeling it, the deeper it embeds into your subconscious. Carl Jung understood this. Well, he said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You can't heal what you refuse to acknowledge. You must face your pain, completely, honestly, and without resistance. Think of pain as a force. When you resist it, it pushes back. That's why sadness, grief, or rage feel stronger when you try to suppress them. You distract yourself through work, social media, or constant activity, but when the noise fades, the pain resurfaces, sometimes even more intensely. You blame others, you blame circumstances, but as long as the pain is projected outward, you won't turn inward, and that is where true healing begins. Pain itself doesn't destroy us. It's our resistance to it that makes it unbearable. So how do you break this cycle? Accept the pain. Stop running from it. Let yourself feel it consciously and without judgment. If you're sad, cry. If you're angry, sit with the anger. Don't act on it recklessly, but don't ignore it either. Witness the emotion as it moves through you, and when you do, something begins to shift. When pain is accepted as a natural part of life, it loosens its hold. The monster in your mind begins to shrink. Here's the most reassuring truth. Nothing lasts forever. Every emotion, no matter how intense, is temporary. Every wave of suffering eventually passes, if you allow it. But when you resist it or carry the story behind it, you prolong the suffering far beyond what's necessary. Healing doesn't happen in the future. It happens now. In the moment you stop running and start embracing every part of yourself, including the wounded parts, that's when transformation begins. Carl Jung emphasized the importance of inner transformation. One of its deepest truths is the understanding that everything is impermanent. Nothing, neither joy nor sorrow, lasts forever. Everything is in motion. Pain, like pleasure, is fleeting. It does not define you, and it is not eternal. Think back to a time when you faced hardship. It may have felt endless, like you'd never escape, but here you are on the other side, stronger, with new insights. And the same will happen with your current pain. It will pass, the storm will ease, and light will return. So how do you embrace pain rather than be consumed by it? How do you stop letting suffering control your life? There are practices you can begin today. First, stop judging your pain. Don't label it, analyze it, or demand to know when it will end. Just allow yourself to feel, without resistance, without shame, without attaching a narrative. It's not good or bad, it's just energy moving through you. Second, observe it in your body. When you feel grief, fear, or frustration, avoid letting your mind build stories about how unfair life is. Instead, notice where it shows up physically. Maybe a tight chest, clenched jaw, a lump in the throat. Just notice. Don't try to fix it. Just witness it. Third, breathe through it. Instead of tensing up or reaching for a distraction, try this. Take a slow, deep breath, and another. Let your breath pass through the feeling. You don't need to do anything more. Your role is simply to be present, and that presence changes everything. When you welcome pain with full awareness, you discover it has far less power than you thought. The pain might still exist, but its grip weakens. You are no longer its victim. You are someone who can move through difficulty with strength, maturity, and grace. This is true power, not found in control or resistance, but in presence and acceptance. Most people spend their lives running from discomfort, numbing themselves with distraction, addiction, or denial. But the only real way to break free from suffering is to face it directly, with awareness and openness. When you do that, you uncover a profound truth. Pain was never your enemy. Suffering wasn't here to destroy you. It was here to awaken you, to shape you, to help you evolve. And once you truly understand that, fear begins to dissolve. Now let's go deeper, because once you stop resisting pain, you can do something even more powerful. You can use it, not only to heal, but to evolve in ways you never imagined. This is where real transformation happens. You turn your pain into power. By now, you know resisting pain makes it worse. Avoiding it deepens the wounds. Accepting it is the beginning of liberation. But there's another step, using your suffering as fuel for growth. Carl Jung saw this through the lens of alchemy. not just the literal transformation of base metals into gold, but as a psychological and spiritual process. The real alchemy happens inside. Your pain, fears, and trauma are the raw materials. The gold is who you become once you allow pain to refine you. Wisdom, strength, compassion, resilience. These are the gifts on the other side of hardship. So the question isn't, how can I avoid pain? The real question is, how can I grow from it? That's the hidden power of suffering. It's a call to awaken. Think of the strongest people you know, the ones with depth, grace, quiet courage. They didn't get that way because life was easy. They got there because they walked through fire. They were broken, and from that place, rebuilt stronger. Every painful experience is a crossroads, a sacred choice. You can let it close you, or let it open you. You can let it define you, or let it refine you. It's the decision to shed your old self and become something new, more awake, more resilient, more connected to life. Jung also spoke of the dark night of the soul, a period of deep emotional and spiritual crisis. It feels like everything is collapsing. The weight of life becomes unbearable, but Jung didn't view this as punishment. He saw it as a sacred turning point, an invitation to evolve, because it's precisely in the moments where everything seems lost that your greatest breakthrough is near. Imagine that instead of resisting this darkness, you paused and asked, "What is this trying to teach me? How can I grow from this, not break?" That's when everything begins to shift. You stop being a victim and start becoming the alchemist of your own life. You transform destruction into renewal. From the ashes, a new self emerges, stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your truth. Every time you faced loss, betrayal, heartbreak, something within you died. And though painful, that death was necessary. The death of illusion, of false expectations, of outdated identities, and after every death, a chance for rebirth. If you reflect on your life, you'll likely find that your most defining experiences weren't the easy ones. They were the struggles, the moments you reached your edge and somehow kept going. That is transformation. Pain, when fully felt, breaks you open. It shatters your illusions. It forces you to look inward, to see the parts of yourself you've neglected, and in doing so offers you a choice: remain stuck or evolve, be defined by pain or be refined by it.